Hey there, my topic for today I want to talk about is having a heart. Pretty much, basically, caring about everything and the things around us and things like that. And, all living things and people and different kinds and so forth. So, I do think having a heart is very important. To be honest, I think it would have made this a much better place, obviously. I think we all know that. What makes this a worse place to live in is having a bad heart. That would also be one of the only things that could make this a bad place to live in. It all deals with heart, in my opinion. It all comes down to heart. But let's say, you're in a country and there's a lot of bull crap going on, and people are poor and things like that. Only a heart will actually save those people. They will stay poor if you don't have one. Sometimes them becoming poor could result in not having a heart because people didn't care about them. People didn't care about those who go through a certain situation that would cause them to be poor. Instead, they only cared about how they made it through. Thus, they made life according to that. So it's only going to help people who can actually do exactly what that man did to make it through the same way. But for those who can't make it through the same way, are going to be poor or just, crappy with a horrible life. To me, that's a result from a person who made those rules, who did not have enough heart to support a person in that situation. Sometimes it could have a lot to do with not thinking about those people who might go through a situation like that. That's why multiple brains is way better than just one. Because one thing that you might not know, another person will surely know. That's why it's better to work as a team when doing things. That way you can support everyone. One person is not going to be able to think for everybody. It's going to take many people and work from there and improve through time. So I don't think in this day and age that people have good hearts as of right now. I think we're improving, and we only improve as more people gain a heart. For example, like segregation back then. That was only improved when whites had a heart. Whites who had a heart pushed harder to make that type of change, to get rid of that type of segregation and whatnot. Especially if they were in control, it took them to have a heart to understand and to change those rules, to change those laws. It had to be the heart, nothing else. If they didn't have the heart to care, they would most likely not react. And say if they would react, how would they? They don't know how. They don't have a heart to even understand. Sometimes it is easy to understand that segregation does suck. But sometimes when you don't have a heart to know how people feel, you don't even think it does suck. You don't even think it's wrong. So it's just that heart. It lets you know what is wrong, especially when you think about the feelings. For example, wolves attack rabbits. They don't have a heart for rabbits. They have a heart to feed themselves and their pack. So when they attack rabbits, it's without hesitation. They have no idea what the rabbit's even going through either. They just know what it's doing, trying to get away. But they're not thinking about what's happening to this rabbit. They're just thinking about getting the meat from it, and that's it. It's like dogs too as well. When they see trouble goes down, I think it takes a heart for them to actually solve the problem, to defend another dog or another human being, and they just have to. Oh, never mind. Anyways, I think everyone should have heart, because obviously I think it would put a solve to every situation. There's problems that go on in this country that no one knows about. If we have a heart, we would actually go the extra mile to try to understand what goes on in this country. But if we don't have a heart, we're not going to go the extra mile to try to learn about what's going on in this country. There may be some things that that's hiding from people, and it takes a person to go and look for those answers and to find out what's really going on here, so we can change a law or change a problem that's happening. make things better. But if you don't have the patience, you don't have, the heart to be able to actually think about what certain people could be going through, that problem will never go away. Never. And the person going through it probably can't fix it because they have no power. So what is it going to take? So, to me, I think this relates to school situations and even work situations. Like for me, I think about, and maybe this, I'm not sure if people really complain about this. I'm 100% sure that they do. I think about how people work at jobs. For the ones that work from 10 to 12 hours and beyond, and overtime and all that other stuff. 10 to 12 hours. That's insane. You work 10 to 12 hours at a job. Now, a lot of people don't really know how bad that is. That's a lot of time in one day. Yeah, you have 24 hours in a day, but 10 to 12 hours is almost half of that. You still gotta sleep at night, so you don't have very much of your day left at all, and you got things to do. That whole factor right there, 10 to 12 hours a day, I guarantee you, people are going to be working that long for a long time in America. That will never change. Do you know why? Because people who are in power do not understand how harsh that is. You see, we had a heart for little kids because little kids are cuter, they're smaller, and more fragile. That's why it was easier to have a heart for little kids and understand that them working 10 hours back in those days, in the old days, I guess 1900s or whatever, when kids were doing hardcore labor, we had a heart to change that. And it didn't even hurt us either by changing it. So we had a horrible law going on here for kids to be working like that. And we got rid of it. We got rid of it because we felt bad for them, and it did not hurt us. At least I don't think it did. We have a better future now, at least, without kids working like for 10 hours like that. I think they were working like that at what, age 10 or something like that? I don't exactly remember how it was, but it was hardcore labor. And they don't do that now. I'd say they have a way better life than any adult that works over 10 hours. But here's the thing. We don't have a heart for adults. Because when we look at adults, we think, oh, okay, they're big, they're boring, they suck, life is gay for them, they can take it, they don't complain either, hardly, at least not like little kids do, and they're not as fragile. So, screw them. Work 10 hours, fuck you. That's how it is in this country. I promise, I swear to God. You know why? Because no matter how many people I walk around, nothing is ever positive. It is always complaining. Adults always complain when they work 10 to 12 hours. They don't fucking like that shit. They don't like it because they always complain about it. They know it's a problem and they have stress written all over their fucking faces and bodies. Excuse me, but I can't help it. I'm angry. I have a freaking heart. I can't stand seeing adults that work, not just adults, like anybody who works, to work 10 hours and beyond like that. We made a pretty positive, successful change for young children that had to work like that. I don't think it would hurt to make a pretty good, successful change for adults. I don't think it took that long to make this change for young kids either. So why should it take thousands of years for us to reach a calm, relaxing lifestyle where we don't have to fucking overwork ourselves and overstudy all the time? And we can relax and still study a little, study enough for us, still work enough for us, but each and every day still have enough time, maybe more time, to explore and have an exciting life and have fun with our friends, play video games if we want, go outside and play football, go for walks. But no, we're stuck in jobs. Why? Because we don't have enough heart. People who are in control especially don't have enough heart to think about what these adults and these young adults go through when they work jobs. We think, oh, they have to work towards their future, their career. How many adults really make it to their actual career that they really want? Especially if they're not white adults. And if they are white adults, how many white adults actually, especially if they're in their 30s and 40s, I'm speaking for mostly the men too, how many of them have a head full of hair? How many of them actually are skinny with some muscle mass? Fuck you. That is not how you're supposed to treat these people at all. Excuse my language. I mean, that came out of nowhere. But I mean, it's like they're fat. They suck, dude. Like, they don't look good. These adults that actually work for 10 to 12 hours, spent their whole life in high school, then they get in college. You know, they have all this hope thinking, okay, it's going to take me to good places and everything. But then when they finally get these high-paying jobs, I've seen what these people look like. They look better when they were younger. They have these high-paying jobs and all that. They still work like hell, though. And what do they do when they go home? They drink Bud Light beer and Miller Lite, and they sit on couches watching the fucking football game and UFC and boxing and all these other sports and hockey. It's completely, it's crazy. I would rather be a young teen, you know, watching UFC every now and then, but not spending my whole life being a couch potato doing this for eternity. I mean, it's just not fair. It's like we earn all this money, right? White adults, mostly. White males, speaking on them. They earn all this money, but when, like, what are they doing with it? You know? Every week, they should be able to earn all that cash that they earn, spending all that hard work, you know, for all these years. They should be going on vacation every week and be exploring this fucking world every week. To me, it's worth that amount. The amount of work they put in is like, by the time they reach 30, they should be able to relax for a good 20 years. But I guess that's just me. That's what I believe. I mean, I think I think our exciting life that we explore is like at this level. No, at this level. Way down here. The amount of work we ever put on ourselves each and every day, every year is way up here. It's like our reward is not even around. We don't have a reward. And continuously, we're still having hope, still working towards something. So yeah, my mom, you know, being as a black female, I don't really know what kind of job she works. I know she's I guess it's like she works at a military base, and she manages the military somehow. She's not in the military. She was former military, used to be. So yeah, I'm not sure how much she makes. I just know we live in the ghetto, inside of a house that's decent enough to live in, just like any other house really, but it's not anything super special, but it's in the ghetto, so just in the wrong environment, that's all. So yeah, I think we just don't have enough heart for adults either, you know, for anybody to understand certain people's situations. I don't think we have enough heart to really get it. I think we can easily make a change within the adult working world and the young adult working world and whatnot, and the studying world too. I think we can easily make a change. I think we can. I mean, we did it for young kids. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do it, but whatever. So yeah, I think the world should definitely more people should have a heart. A lot of things, if more people had a heart, a lot of things would actually be accomplished. Like, a lot of things would be fixed. But there's less things being fixed when less people have a heart. I think when people have a bad heart, they tend to not care about what goes on, things around them, and they have less worry for what goes on around them. Having a bad heart, they might be more selfish and just care about their own self and maybe their family, and then they'll say screw everybody else. Those are not people with a bad heart. A lot of times when people have a bad heart, and say for example a fight breaks out, they don't care about the person who gets beat up, even if the person wasn't wrong, even if they were innocent. They have a bad heart, so they don't care about the person's life at all. Sometimes they might have a bad heart for just certain people, but a good heart for certain people. So it'll just be for a portion of people, but not others. And that's pretty screwed up too. So basically, I think I do have a heart that is usually different from most people. My heart is very, very fragile. It started out, just a little bit fragile when I was younger, and it gets more fragile probably each and every day. And now it's like it's extremely it's easy to cut. I can't take the smallest things that happen. Well, it's not even small things. I just can't take anything that really happens anymore, hardly. I can deal with it and just and move on, but it just hurts me a lot. Like when an innocent person is facing violence from another person and they're in trouble, it just pains me. It pains me horribly. It's as if it pains me more than it would actually hurt me if I was that person. So I don't know how that is, you know. Like if, for example, if I saw an innocent girl getting beat up by a guy, and I felt for that girl, even if I didn't know her, I would almost rather it be me. In fact, I would rather it be me. I would rather it be me. I've seen too many situations like that where it just never seemed right for this person to ever face the trouble that they went through, and I would actually rather it be me. It would hurt me less if it was myself. And I've been through some harsh situations before. I've never been beat up before, but I've been through some pretty ignorant situations. So I don't know. I guess how I actually became like this way, like how I became so easily damaged by the troubles of other people, and it kind of hurts me. It sucks because whenever someone gets hurt, it hurts me. Whenever I feel bad for them, and I feel bad pretty easily. And I would have to say it's just thinking. As usual, thinking is always the answer for how I become something all the time. All throughout my life, thinking is usually the reason for how I became something, some kind of way, how I gained a certain kind of personality. It's always thinking. That's just what I do more than anything. So, that would be the reason. Eventually, when I'm thinking about other people, I put myself in their shoes automatically. I do this all the time, and I observe them. I observe how they feel, and I just get their feelings immediately in a snap. Now it's in a snap, but before it was a little slower because I was just beginning to do it when I was younger. And I just always imagine how they feel, and I look at their face and the expressions, and it gets to me quickly. A lot of people don't do that. That's usually how bullying can happen. You know, when you bully someone, you just bully them. You say screw them. I don't care about them, their life, or what they're going through. You just care about what you're getting out of that bullying, what you're getting out of doing harm to this person, and it doesn't faze you. And that's usually how a lot of bad fights obviously break out, and they end horribly between certain people. So with me, I tend to feel bad for what the person goes through. I have been a bully before, though, and it just didn't last long at all. And even through that, I would feel bad of what the person's going through. I've been a bully when I was a little kid, though, I remember. And when I was a little kid and I bullied, I remember I did not care about the person I was bullying. I just didn't have the heart there. It had to be taught to me. I believe it has to be taught to people. It doesn't always come naturally. It rarely actually does, I think. Not rarely, but like some people only get a heart naturally without being taught. I think a lot of people need to be taught to have a heart. That would be the reason why we go through a lot of hell right now. We spend so much time getting taught other things like how to work more and work and focus on work rather than even having a heart to care about certain people in this country. There's just so much teaching, basic teaching that we miss out on. We really do. Sometimes when we get it from our parents, it just goes through the other ear. We hardly spend enough time at home to even, we're hardly at home, and our parents are hardly at home for us to even be able to get enough out of them. So we mostly get whatever we can get from school and from work, and that's it. And even from there, since some of those things for certain people aren't even that important for us, which is true, because as a human, we may be made for something else. Our brains may be created for a certain different type of job that doesn't apply to what school teaches us. So we'll pass a test or do some homework or do whatever to pass school, but in the later years, it will slip on by and it won't even mean anything. And this happens to a lot of people. So it just makes it only useless. All that education for so many years, all that time spent used on that shit, just becomes useless. To do what? Go get a high school diploma and then get a job that just pays, so you can work for over 10 to 12 hours and whatnot. All that for nothing, man. For just more work, simply. And then you got to take care of a family, and that's work. So anyway, I do think my heart is fragile, and so yeah, I think in order to really get a heart for people, you have to be taught. You have to be taught it. If you have it, you better teach it to your kids, or they just may not give a shit about certain things that go on. The only way for this world, this country especially, to make a change, is for people to have a heart. If your kids don't have a heart, the next generation will be the same. It won't change. They won't even know what to change. They won't have the heart to really feel for other people and put themselves in other people's shoes. It seems like a very simple, basic thing to do, but I swear to God, people don't really do it enough. They don't do it deep enough when they put themselves in other people's shoes. Like criminals, for example. People really don't put themselves in a criminal's shoes at all. You should do that. You never know. What if they become a criminal based off of this country and the way the hard life here is affecting them? They may not just be a criminal just because they're stupid or they're making the wrong decision. In the end, there are situations that still lead them into doing crime. Yeah, sure, it's their choice in the end, but there are situations that push them into making the wrong choice. So if we don't have a heart to understand that, we'll never know how a person even becomes a criminal. So if we don't know how a person becomes a criminal, we don't know how to stop crime. Oh yeah, sure, put them in jail, threaten them to go to jail for more years. They won't stop. They never have stopped. War has not stopped. It doesn't stop when the consequences get worse at all. Again, war hasn't stopped. So if war has not stopped, the consequences is death in war. Still, it happens. No, it doesn't make anyone back out of it at all. They do it to... They do it to survive, and everyone does everything to survive. People do crime to survive. Hell. And if it's not to survive, it's through hatred. And guess where hatred comes from? This environment. The way this country is, people gain hatred out of that. So we really have to put ourselves in everyone's shoes, and that includes criminals. They have their own story. They do. And their decisions, let's just put it this way. If we had a heart to think about how they became a criminal, and we did what it takes, even if it took something big to actually prevent that, to me it all comes from mostly one source, one big source or a couple of small sources that really cause all these problems in this country, in this whole world too. But if we had a heart to think about how they become criminals, rather than just thinking, oh, they're just stupid and they made themselves that way, that's half of the reason, most likely. But there are other reasons too. If we think about that, then we'll actually be able to figure out how to push them into making the good, right decision rather than into making the bad decision. They will make their decision and they know what's right and wrong, but they are pushed into making a bad decision. They make the bad decision based off of their own will. That's half of it, but the other half is pushing them to say yes on it, and we need something to push them to say no. After all, there is a such thing, right? If you teach your kids to do bad, most likely they'll do bad, even though they have the decision, and they may actually gain the knowledge of knowing what is right and wrong. So there are things that influence people to actually do bad. Some people are taught that smoking weed is wrong. Guess what happens? They smoke weed and then they turn around and say smoking weed is not wrong. So, and I don't even know if smoking weed is wrong or right. I mean, I kind of do. I believe I do. I believe I know what it does, but to me it's not really a problem to me it's just it's a thing that came from the problems that we have right now. I don't think it's a problem that that has created major problems within the country. I think the major problems within the country has created weed, smoking weed, the act of smoking weed so much. I think it results from that. And now it's not really being a thing that people consider as wrong to do either. So guess what? Most likely, I don't know how they're going to treat their kids. I really don't think people who smoke weed are really going to encourage their kids to do it. So secretly, they probably know deep down inside it probably is wrong. But it's just like playing video games all damn day. It's about as bad as that. When you just do something and not realize that there's more to life than just this one thing that you do, that you look up to. So, but the problem is, in the end, if they truly wouldn't think that if they're truly okay with their kids doing it, then there's no stopping it. Obviously, there's no stopping it. It's like saying, so people are just born bad and that's how this world is. Do you want to believe that, or do you want to believe that the controllers are leading the people into doing bad things? Because in the end, if that was the case, we have a chance. We have a shot at life. Life is gay now. It's gay right now. But unless we can change things around, we do have a chance. We're going to have to think outside the box, though, and go to believe that we're leading people into doing bad things. The laws, the way we work, the way we treat our lives is leading that. But we have to have a heart, though. We can't just put all the blame on the criminals and other poor people and whatnot, and just say, screw them. They're making bad decisions in life. That's their fault that they can't handle life. We just can't have that. We can't have that type of attitude. It will never end, and it never did. With that type of attitude, it never fixed anything. So, the only thing that fixes things is having a heart and being able to do something about it. Especially if you control this country. If you're a ruler over this country and you control it, it takes you to really lessen that majority of people who actually have a crappy life or do crime or do other bad things. So yeah, I believe my heart compared to the average human being is really good. I have to say, not to really brag at all. I do think it's very fragile, and it might be a bad thing, but I think it's very useful. It makes me act and learn about other things that are going on. I simply just have the heart to do so. So, a lot of people who don't have a heart is not going to be on cam trying to talk about what they believe in and things like that, and let people hear the word. Because in reality, if life sucks right now, no one has a heart. One thing that proves it is there aren't that many people making videos and trying to show it to everyone. Making a speech about what they believe in and the things that they see, about the people they care about and whatnot. If there aren't that many people doing it, then it's either this. It's either they don't have a heart to do so, they just don't care that much, they only care about their own crappy life, or they don't have the time and energy. And if they don't have the time and energy, it goes right back to this country on how crappy these laws are for making us work and not having the time and energy to do anything to help fix the place. Instead, we have to deal with the place by continuously working for more money so we can just live another minute. We can't even have time to make a change, to actually just take a break, a long one too, and spend time at home and just think about what's going on, like how crappy everything is. The only thing we know is just how crappy our jobs are and what's going on. And that's about as far as it ever gets with most average people, in my opinion. I just don't think people have enough time to really think about others and whatnot, and what's wrong around here. So it's just jacked up in so many ways. But that's pretty much all I have to say. So yeah, try to have a heart for people. I promise it will really accomplish a lot. I know I have so many reasons on why it would help, but I'm horrible at talking today. So, but yeah, having a heart is definitely what we need to do. This world ain't going nowhere without that. That's all for me. Thank you.